Listeners, hello, welcome back. It's For The Fans show. What is this, like week 8, week 9? We're weeks in. Today is going to be another Premier League post-show, I guess that's what you'd call it. And today I'm joined by two of my favourite friends. We're without a fourth member, and that has caused a rift at Podcast HQ. Firstly, though, Callum Keane is back with us. Keane, you had a birthday this week.
I did. Why is it caused a rift?
Oh, because, well, you know why, Keane. I think about what's going to be happening in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm also joined by Christopher Proudy.
Hello.
All right?
Yeah, I've looked at the comments from the last episode, and it was split 50-50. Some people said it was a great feature, some people said it was a bad feature. So
no, it wasn't split 50-50. Let's not make that lie.
I mean, I'm counting my likes as well. So
Proudy, a friend of mine sent me a text who I had no idea listened to the show or cared, and it was just a screenshot of Ben's channel, the ForTheFans channel, with "This is the worst feature ever" as the caption. That was it.
I mean, we'll read some of the... Probably as you've brought up the YouTube comments, Philip Sam, that feature was likely a horribly overcomplicated drinking game where everyone's got bored and drinks anyway. I wish I could have drunk at that point. But someone said that they thought that the feature was fine, the participants with the issue. You're just wrong, aren't you, really? But thanks for leaving your feedback anyway. Again, problem was not the feature, but the problem was your attitude about the feature. The more I read this, Proudy, the more I think you might be correct. But regardless, Proudy, you may have noticed, listeners, Jack's not here this week.
Yeah.
And that means, Chris, you've got a reprieve, you know? You've got one more chance to do a good feature. And then when I say one more chance, Proudy, what I mean is this is your last chance, okay? We're not having any... If this feature's bad, that's the end of you and features altogether. I'll be tempted to stop halfway through and say, stop this feature, and then kick you off the show. And me and Keano next week, it'll just be me and him, or Jack will join us. So, no pressure. Good luck.
Well, thanks. I mean, I'm hoping this gets us in the good book, gets me in the good books again.
Well, come on.
So today, when we're recording, the FA Cup first round draw was made. My team Portsmouth got Luton away. Not. Is it going to be? Can you tell me the ties from the first round draw in 1996? Is it going to be that? I've themed this week's feature around the FA Cup. So what I've got questions for both of you, and we're going to start from round 3. And every time you get a question right, you go forward a round, and then we'll get to a final.
Okay.
Okay. That's actually quite... I tell you what, you've had to pull out the big guns, and so far I'm impressed.
You started well.
We'll wait and see. Well, this won't make it more complicated, but if you get the question wrong, there is a chance for a replay, which will then allow you to go forward to the next round if you get that one right.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of that.
Oh, bloody hell, it was going so well. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm just giving you a second chance.
No, I trusted
to go
it. I'm going with it. I'm taking the feedback from the fans on board.
Yep.
And we're going to... Come on.
Yeah, good attitude, Ben. That's the key.
Yeah, I'm positive this is going to be a great feature.
Would anyone like to volunteer to go first?
Go on, Ben.
If you insist, I would love to. Personally, right.
So, Ben, your round 3 question is, can you name the Ivorian striker who scored the winner as the Welsh club knocked out Manchester United in the 2013-14 FA Cup?
Wilfred Boney.
That is correct. I will say that these questions will get harder as the rounds go on.
Am I in the 4th round now?
You are in the 4th round.
We're starting off as Prem teams then, are we? That's nice.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't be a Premier League team.
No, you should start slightly behind as Aston Villa, but I think Villa coming in the 3rd round as well.
And my recent feature performance as well.
True. Anyway, 1-0. 4th round.
Your round 3 question is...
Can I get a bye, Proudy, to the next round?
Well, you get a replay if you get it wrong. So,
okay.
Yeah. So West Brom beat non-league Gateshead at home by 7-0 in 2014-15. Can you name the young English striker that got 4 goals in that game?
Was it Saido Berahino?
That is correct. You are through to the next round. So
that was good. Right.
Round 4. Here we go.
Who's doing it for this? Is it Ian Wright and Danny Mills? Who's doing it?
I don't know. Dean Saunders.
Dean Saunders is out in
great. Really
round 4. Okay, Ben, your question is, Luton Town beat which Premier League side away from home by 1-0 in 2012-13?
A 1-0?
Yep.
Oh.
This was a massive result in the history.
You know what the worst part is? I think I was there, but I can't remember. I thought it was more than 1-0. All right, was it Norwich City?
That's correct. It was Norwich City. I think they were the first team to win against a Premier League side since Sutton United, and then I think Lincoln City then, broke the record.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay, Kino, your round 4 question is: Chelsea were 2-0 up against this League One side at home in the FA Cup in 2015.
Bradford.
Well, okay, I was about to finish, but yeah, that is correct.
We are Prem Teams, Kino, because we are cruising through these early rounds.
Here we go.
These questions get more difficult as the rounds.
They will do, yeah.
Oh, they will do, he says. Okay, yeah.
I didn't even put my first team out and we got through that round.
Play the kids.
I was like Arsenal, I was playing like Denilson.
Yeah, Ali Adiyah's loving life.
Okay, round 5 for Ben. Arsenal lost to Blackburn Rovers at home in 2013, which was Arsene Wenger's first defeat to a lower league side in the FA Cup. Can you name the person who scored for the Rovers?
This is 5th round, is it?
Yep.
That is difficult.
Someone that scored for Blackburn. Into what year was it, sorry?
2013.
I'm going to gamble. I don't know. I'm going to go with Benny McCarthy.
That's incorrect.
I don't think he wasn't playing for Blackburn in 2013.
Was he not?
I think he was about 40.
Is there a replay, though? How's the replay system work?
No, the replay. Yeah, you got it wrong, but there is a replay question. But I will come back to you if Kino gets his wrong, and then you'll go to replays. Okay, so Kino.
What was the answer to that question, actually, Praddy?
Colin Kazim Richards was the answer.
He had a really interesting career.
Yeah, he did. Gone to Turkey, went to Qatar, came back to England. So.
Definitely not driven by money. Carry on.
Kino, your round 5 question is: Oldham forced which Premier League side in 2013 to a replay after beating their City rivals in the previous round?
Oh.
That's the Premier League side, City rivals.
I remember this. But
I think I know that, actually.
So they beat the City rivals of the team that they've played in the next round and got a replay from. Is that correct?
So Oldham forced this Premier League side to a replay, but they beat the Premier League side City rivals. In the previous round.
What year again? 2014?
2013.
2013. Oh, I feel like I'll know it when you say it, but I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to...
You're going to have to pass. Yeah, take the replay. Yeah. Okay. He's forced the replay.
Can I give the answer for that one?
You can answer, but you won't get the point.
All right, they beat Liverpool.
Well, no, they forced Everton to a replay, but they beat Liverpool in the last round.
Yeah, I remember them.
Everton was the answer.
Do you remember Matt Smith, Kino? The big sort of target man striker.
Yes.
He went to Leeds, I think, after that.
Yeah.
He terrorised Quatters and Skirtle. I remember it well.
Okay, Ben, your replay question for round 5 is Portsmouth, my team obviously, held the FA Cup for a record 7 years after beating Wolves 4-1 in their first FA Cup win. But what was the reason?
What? Sorry, pardon?
So Portsmouth held the FA Cup for a record 7 years after beating Wolves 4-1 in their first ever FA Cup win. But can you tell me why that was?
So they kept the trophy?
For 7 years, yeah.
I know, but I can't get the point.
They kept the trophy for 7 years?
Yeah.
Is it because... that's a really good question. I feel
it's a bit of a trick question. That helps.
I feel like it's something to do with Wembley. I don't think this is right, but I'm just going to say because Wembley was being built.
That's incorrect. Kino, do you want to...
No, it can't be that. That doesn't make sense.
Was it after football was stopped because of like the First World War or something?
Second World War. Yeah. Portsmouth won it in 1939.
Bloody, I'm just not listening to the question. I thought you meant recently when Pompey won it.
No, I wish we held it for 7 years, but like...
I was thinking, why on earth did they hold the...
No, there are a lot of funny stats like that because they suspended the records.
Yeah, basically, that's what you get listening if you don't listen to the question properly.
Well, Ben's been knocked out in the 5th round in a replay penalty shootout. Kino, you can go one round.
Send me out.
Yeah, that's it. It's who goes the furthest. It's who goes the furthest. So I will ask some more questions if you both get knocked out anyway. So
all right, yeah, go on, that's fine.
Kino, your question.
It's probably going to happen to me now. So
Kino, your question for the replay is: Barnsley made it to the FA Cup semi-finals in 2008, being 2 Premier League teams along the way. Can you name either one of them?
2008.
Yeah.
2 Prem sides, 2008.
Was one of them? Oh, no idea. Arsenal.
That's incorrect. Ben, have you got an answer?
No idea. feel like you'd have to be a Barnsley fan or a fan of one of the teams that
United.
No, it was actually Liverpool at Anfield. They got a 90th minute winner. And they beat Chelsea in the next round, 1-0.
Yeah, I remember that one as well, actually.
That's 2 good giant killings as well.
Yeah. And,
was it Chelsea, you say?
Yeah, Chelsea with the other team.
That's funny, I knew you said Chelsea. Yeah.
So both of you got knocked out in the 5th round. So
can we just come back in? Can we face off now? Maybe in a shootout scenario?
We can do the rest of the questions in shootout.
I mean, by all means.
Okay, I'm gonna have to change.
Just be honest, Brady. Loving the feature so much, I want more.
Yeah. See, I said I was gonna. It was a reprieve.
Proudy, some might say this is quite a short feature. I don't agree. I've had the right attitude with this feature and I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Well, I've got more questions on the way. So
but this isn't feature proper, is it?
Yeah. It'll be first answer. Aston Villa beat West Brom by 2-0 in 2015 on their way to making the FA Cup final. Can you name either one of the goal scorers on the day?
Oh God. One was Tom Cleverley, I think. Was it Tom Cleverley? Oh,
no, it wasn't. No.
Delph
was one. I mean, there's another one, but
it's funny. I remember Delph cleverly scoring a goal similar at that time of year.
Then you got an answer?
No.
Scott Sinclair was the other one. Yeah, Scott Sinclair.
Of Celtic fame.
Yeah, on the verge of the England squad, apparently.
Flat track bully Scott Sinclair.
So another question: Man City defeated Barnsley by 5-0 in 2013. Can you name the Argentine striker who scored a hat trick on the day?
Oh, that's an Argentine striker that played for City.
Yep.
In 2013.
It seems too good to be true.
Yeah, it can't be. Okay, let's rule some people. It's not Aguero, is it? It's not Tevez. Surely not. Too obvious to be those two. So it's someone outside of those two. Right? Are we working together or are we...
It's up to you. I mean, you can work together, you can answer yourself.
We might as well work together. Let's pick apart his
could,
questions.
Proudy could be trying to trick us by... It could just be Aguero.
Who was it against?
Barnsley.
Barnsley with a few mentions in this feature.
I'm trying to assume they had... Did they have another Argentine striker that we just can't think of?
I don't think they did. I'm sure all Man City fans are shouting down the microphone now about the...
All right, let's just say
right, Ben,
Aguero then.
You say Aguero, I'll say Tevez.
All right, Aguero.
It was Carlos Tevez. Yeah, I was trying to trick you there, and you seemed you fell for it. So,
despite naming him, we fell for it.
Okay,
one more, Bradley. One more.
Stay too long. Okay, Wigan won the 2013 FA Cup final in dramatic circumstances.
2013. Did you only look at that year? We've had about 6 questions from 2013.
Well, I was trying to make it as recent as possible to make it harder. But
I had a question about the war. Yeah. What do you mean as recent as possible?
Oh no, those were the replay questions. They were all about any time period. It was just these ones were like
recent.
Ben Watson scored the winner. Can you name the player who assisted him?
Assisted Ben Watson.
It was a header from a corner, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
2013 was this.
So who's putting in the corners for Wigan? Jordi Gomez?
Just naming Wigan players we remember.
I feel like...
James MacArthur?
No.
Or McCarthy?
No.
Was it not Jordi Gomez?
No.
It wasn't Figueroa. It's not Figueroa
No,
either.
It's not Figueroa.
Oh.
Hugo Rodallega?
No. He did play
at some point we'll have named the whole side. What position did he play?
He was a midfielder.
He was a midfielder, a Wigan midfielder. Oh, Wilson Palacios?
No.
Oh.
He'd gone to Stoke by that point.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out who hadn't left yet. Like Valencia had gone by then. Long gone.
Long gone.
Chimbonda had gone as well.
You're thinking like Paul Jules Wigan.
I am. I'm very fondly keen. I'm very fondly of my thinking of them as well.
Nathan Ellington.
Jason Roberts.
Nathan Ellington. I forgot he was a person. Yeah.
The Duke. I don't know, Friday, mate.
Can I have some initials? I just want to be able to answer the
SM.
SM.
Steve Malbronk?
No, was it... was it... No, that wasn't. Was it
wasn't Steve Malbronk.
SM?
Yep.
So it wasn't Callum McManaman?
No. That's who I thought originally until I looked it up. And I
thought you might have accidentally just put Steve McManaman. No.
Steve.
SM. Solly March?
No.
Have you given up yet? Those initials. Yeah, I have given up.
It was Sean Maloney.
Sean Maloney.
Yeah. Also the reason United lost the title the season before as well.
I was going to say, for like a 3-month period, he was like unbelievable or something. Yeah. Maybe even like a year. He was really good and everyone was like raving about it. He was like David Silva.
He was decent at the Villa when he was younger, actually, as well.
Was he? And then look what happened to him. Villa kills careers.
Normally, players are shit at Villa and then go on to much better things.
Scott Sinclair is listed in nodding.
Tom Cleverley scored this week. Lovely goal. Playing really well for Watford.
Well done, Tom. We might talk about you in a minute. Right then, thanks for the list of the feature idea. Did anyone win?
No, we drew, didn't we?
We drew the feature. So after all that, we drew the feature.
It was quite a nice cooperative feature this week, wasn't it, Ben?
Cooperative features. That's what. Do you know what they'll be calling the Capital One Cup that soon? Whatever it is, the
Co-op Cup,
the League One, the League Cup. Even they'll be called that soon. The cooperative feature. Right then, let's talk about some football, boys. Now we've got the feed. Well done, Proudy. I mean, that was okay. That was probably
your career was saved there.
I mean, I'll put it this way: it couldn't have been worse than last week. So you
could have been. It definitely could have been.
It could have been. Right. Let's talk about some football then. Manchester City 7 bracket SEVEN close bracket.
Wow.
Stoke 2. And Stoke were lucky to get 2. Keno, it was a very impressive performance from Pep Guardiola's boys, and he seems to have got them playing the way he wants.
Impressive. Some may say scarily good, scary. All of those words.
Words beginning with S.
That was peak Man City so far. I mean, they could get better, and they may be able to win 7-0 instead of conceding 2 goals. But Guardiola said after the game it was the best he'd seen. That was the highest point they'd reached since he'd arrived.
Yeah, he looked happy.
The thing was, though, they've been playing like that all year. It didn't seem out of the ordinary for this City side right now. But it was just everything came off in this game. I was actually, just before we started recording, obviously there's the Monday night game at the moment, but prior to sort of looking at the West Brom-Leicester game, Sky Sports were looking at expected goals, the highest expected goal stats from like that in the league this so far. All 4 of the highest ones were Man City. And they actually had higher XG in the game against Palace that they played, and they won 5-0, so they were creating more chances. Yeah. But they only scored 5. But yeah, incredible. And Kevin De Bruyne stakes his claim, early player of the season claim, but it's the way he's playing right now.
Well, consider they decided it in March. I mean, he's looking pretty good for it, isn't he, really?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
I think with this City side, Proudy, that we all look sort of expect. I think a lot of people anyway, the sort of your average football fan probably thought, Guardiola's come in, we're going to see the Barcelona style football that we saw, the Bayern Munich sort of dominant possession-based attacking play. But we didn't really see it last year. Defensively, they're a little bit all over the place. There was obviously the big question marks with Bravo and Joe Hart, and they never really got going. This year, though, this is the Guardiola team. Like, as Kino said, like this is his best performance as manager of City, and you can see that it's taken a little bit of time, but when it works, my God, it works.
I think, I'm watching the football. Like, I saw some of the goals, and I could sort of imagine what people were going to say. It's like, oh, this was a superb goal. But for me, it's the sort of goal that I've come to like recognise Guardiola's football. And I think that the third one, especially, which was, I think was a Sane pass across
Sterling's goal. Yeah.
It was great to watch. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is the football that I've known Guardiola to play. Like, it's just it's now become. It's coming to fruition. Like, you can actually see it happening. Like, the players can understand their roles better.
It's great to see it in the Premier League. Like,
it's great.
It is.
Well, there was question marks, wasn't it? Like, how would Barcelona do? This is probably the closest we're ever going to get to how a Barcelona side would do. Like, because of the way they play. Guardiola would have loved every goal other than the Fernandinho one. The fact he shot from 25 yards, it's absolutely screaming. We look at that going, well, that's not what we want. We don't want to see any of that. Enough of that. Apart from De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling, Kino, has had one of the best starts to a season. I think probably his best start to a season, actually.
Yeah,
I'll go as far as
I think it is statistically, in terms of his goals and assists, it's his best start. And it was funny, we were talking about this the other day, just setting himself up for disappointment in the World Cup. Because
it'll look like the best young prospect in world football, and then England will come around and he's playing right wing back, and it'll be, like, oh dear.
The way that he's playing in this side, you could see him sort of going on to sort of be that breakout player. I know obviously he's been at City and he joined for a very big fee, but the amount of money they've spent spent on other attacking players, it is almost like a surprise to see him starting.
He's playing ahead of Bernardo Silva. Bernardo
exactly.
Silva was highly rated last year for very good reason, and Sterling's starting ahead of him.
Exactly, and to see that just is so incredibly impressive. And he seems to. I don't always like the criticism of like midfield players that you often hear. It's just like, oh, he's a good player, but just needs to score more goals. I think that's often like lazy, and that's just a way of finding some way to criticise like a midfield player.
I think his finishing generally, though. I think I know what you mean there, but that's been a really weak part of his game, is that end product, whether it be assists or goals. And this year he's providing both in buckets.
Yeah, and I think the system that City are playing just suits him perfectly, and it's really interesting that Guardiola has obviously spent so much money on attacking players, and the way he's actually managed to fashion this system, and it has taken him a year, because he was sort of experimenting so much last term with sort of different ways of setting up the midfield, and maybe going with like three at the back at times to accommodate certain players like De Bruyne and Silva in the same team. It's taken him a while, but the system that he's settled on seems to just suit every player in that side so perfectly. Even like down to Fernandinho, as you mentioned, he relishes that sort of being the only almost conventional central holding midfielder, passing midfielder in that team. He just seems to relish being that sole guy, and just to be the man who can every time pick the ball up from the defence and start moves. Like every player in that system looks at home, and I know Guardiola spent a huge amount of money, and there's no way you can really compare. I don't think you compare what he's doing at City really to something like Barcelona, which it was a lot more
quote unquote of a project at Barcelona. It was a very long. It was a lot more
organic in the way it came together. With obviously they had that incredible crop of youth players at the time. Obviously players like Messi and Xavi who were already there, and Iniesta. With this, it's almost like an experiment as to sort of how Man City's almost kind of like a Football Manager thing in a way. It's like sort of how far he can take his philosophy, like how kind of crazy it can be.
You look at this. You look at the City side though. Like you look at the constants, right, of the side. The only real one in the starting 11 that City played against Stoke, for example, is probably David Silva, who's been there for a good 6 or 7 years now, you would say, I think. Yeah. And apart from that, you go through Ederson's new signing, Walker, new signing, Stones last year, Otamendi 3 years ago, Delph 2 years ago, De Bruyne was relatively recent. Even Fernandinho is probably one of the older statesmen now at Manchester City, but you wouldn't consider him in the same level you would maybe David Silva. You've got Sterling who's new, Sané's new, Jesus is new as well. It's the bench priority that says to me, like, City have won this game without playing Danilo, Gundogan. They've got Aguero's there, Mangala, Bernardo Silva and Yaya Toure. I mean, the strength in depth in this side. We'll talk about Chelsea in a minute, who I think have got an issue in that area. Well, I'll say in a bit. City, if City get an injury, it's not really going to be an issue for them.
Yeah, I think we did mention, because when Aguero got his injury, we were saying, because Jesus and Aguero were playing up front, and we were like, if one of them gets injured, then that becomes a problem. But obviously, it hasn't become a problem because they're scoring even more goals than before. They've scored 7 against Stoke. They've scored 5 against Liverpool. Etc. And it's just it's very scary to think how much better they can become, because I still don't think they're actually at the level Guardiola wants them. I think they're 95% there, but they're not 100% there. I think it's once we see them play bigger sides, teams who are going to do. I want to see how it does against a Mourinho team, who I know Mourinho is going to set out to be.
That game already, Proudy, is like
it's big, it's huge, and I think that's what is going to test Guardiola's philosophy the most. Those sort of games, Chelsea as well. Because they beat Chelsea at home. They beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge already, but it's like when they play Chelsea at home, because Chelsea are going to set up differently to what they did, in the reverse game. Yeah. So I think it's those games which are going to really test, the squad depth. They're going to test the team that they got out, test Guardiola's tactics, because he might change them. I mean, I've read his autobiography, and he said that sometimes when it comes to the big games, he thinks, tirelessly about different systems, and he'll think about 4 or 5 systems, and then he'll change it at the last second, and sometimes it just goes against him. And it's whether he has the stubbornness to actually stick with one, because he just thinks about different systems all the time. And there'll be one time this season, I know it will be against probably one of the teams near the bottom, he'll change the system drastically and it'll backfire, and then that's when that becomes a problem. But
it's a test.
I mean, at the moment, I mean, I'm enjoying the football they're playing at the moment. This is the sort of football that, as I said, like I've seen Barcelona play under Guardiola, Bayern Munich play under Guardiola. So it's good to see it in the Premier League, and we've seen sort of possession football in the Premier League, but not to this.
Not like this.
Not when they're scoring 7 goals or 5 goals or 6 goals. It's amazing to watch.
A couple of points on City, just quickly. As Paddy said, there are a lot of tests for them to come up and exciting matches that I really want to watch. We're recording this on Monday night. I think one of possibly the most excited I've been for a game this season is Napoli against Man City this week in the Champions League.
Napoli are not the same. People might hear Napoli and think, the Napoli of 5 years ago with like the Cavani and your Hamsik. Obviously, they've all moved. Hamsik's still there, but a lot of their players moved on. And the way they play now, Kino, is like, you're probably going to say now, is not that far from a Guardiola team.
Well, in Maurizio Sarri, the manager, they've got the next sort of big thing. They've got the next hot property in European management, and I think if they do win Serie A this year, and he thinks about moving on, like the big clubs in Europe will be queuing up for his signature. Guardiola himself has said that Napoli play the best football in Europe so far this year.
Wow.
Like under Sarri.
That's quite the compliment as well.
And that's coming from the man who has had that title for quite a few years, and so to see them play one another, Sarri against Guardiola, City against this Napoli team who have got so many fantastic players, will be it's incredibly exciting. Kind of like the Monaco game from last year actually, but City are at an even higher level than they were then.
A lot more settled now as well.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned the strength of depth, because obviously just mentioning the Champions League, I think they have the strength to go a long way in the Champions League this year. I think other than Real Madrid, obviously Barcelona's form's good in La Liga, and Bayern have tailed off to a degree. Other than Real Madrid, maybe PSG as well, I could see City going deep in this competition.
Semi-finals or more?
Possibly more, I think.
Wow.
I think they could get to a final this year.
Yeah. Something, we'll make this the final point on City. Stoke fans, be lucky we're not talking about you. I'll say that much. But Stoke's goals were relatively fortunate. Both deflected and went in. You think about we talk about City offensively, and everyone's talking about the goal scoring.
So there were no defensive howlers.
Well, those are the 2 goals they've conceded so far. Like in that game, again, 2 deflections, pretty fortunate. Not much Ederson can do about either of them. The other 2 goals they've conceded this season was Wayne Rooney scored when Everton got a point away at the Etihad, which looks an amazing result for Everton at this point. And the Charlie Daniels stunner for Bournemouth, when Sterling obviously scored late on and there was a bit of controversy with the celebration. So when you think about the goals City you conceded, there's 3 goals there that it's almost like you look at them and go, not much we can do about that. So in reality, City have scored 29 and only really conceded 1 goal where you could maybe say they've been cut open, and that was the Rooney goal. And that's probably just as impressive. Yeah, that's probably just as impressive as the goal scoring. And that was the question mark, wasn't it, for City last season with Claudio Bravo? John Stones didn't look too good. I've heard not a peep out of anyone about how bad John Stones has been this year, because he's been excellent. And I think you can say that for a lot of the City defenders. They've all played really, really well this year, and I'd be interested to see how long that can carry on for. Let's go across Manchester. We won't stay on this game too long because it wasn't great, because it was rubbish. But Liverpool 0, Manchester United 0, obviously picked up proudly as the game of the season. Sky love doing that. They absolutely love it.
Red Monday. Oh, do you remember Red Monday last year?
That went on for about a week as well.
Also a 0-0.
Yeah, also a 0-0. Who do you think's the happier manager? Because the ship at Liverpool's not been that steady. Whereas Mourinho, I guess you're going to say Mourinho, right? I'll ask you that. Yeah. Who's happier?
Easily Mourinho, because the thing is, like, Liverpool needed the result. They needed a win because I mean you're down in 8th. Like, you're not too far off the top 4. I mean, you're only 2 points off Watford, but
this is a lot that Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool are all on 13 points after 8 games.
Exactly,
like, it's a very clustery.
I think. Yeah, you had to say Mourinho is happy because they've still not lost yet this year. They've kept another clean sheet, so they've still got the best defence in the league. And he's not really come away with any injuries either, with some more important games coming up, Champions League as well. So I think, like, Klopp's obviously not going to be happy. I mean, there were chances to win it. I think Chan was probably the best chance. Or was there one? It was just right in front of goal in the start of the second half. It was like, did it go across De Gea and he just about caught it before someone followed up? I think
obviously De Gea made a very good save. He made a very good save.
I've not seen many better. That is maybe save of the season. Actually, Jack Butland had an amazing save from that De Bruyne effort.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they scored so many goals, but Jack Butland had a great save in that game. That save from De Gea, and I was critical of De Gea a couple of years ago, which people didn't really like. But it was that I used to think David De Gea was a little bit too Hollywood. It was almost like he wanted to. It was like he wanted to create the clip that could be sent back to Spain for everyone to go, oh, look how good David De Gea is. And I think he's actually cut that out of his game, and now he's become a very efficient goalkeeper. And while that might sort of undersell him, he's probably now, for me, the best keeper in the world. I wouldn't have put him with that label a few years ago. I'd have put Neuer ahead of him.
Particularly with Neuer being out injured for 6 months as well.
Maybe one or two others I'd have put round about him. I'd have put people like Lloris, maybe very close with him. Petr Cech at the time, I might have put there. Courtois, I think, is still a very good goalkeeper and will be up there with De Gea in the next couple of years. But I do think now, David De Gea, for me, has gone from sort of the 5th or 6th, which, again, people wouldn't have agreed with at the time. But he's gone from there to now being like... It looks... He's one of those keepers, right, that doesn't strike you as this imposing figure, but he's very difficult to beat. And for a guy that's not built like Peter Schmeichel, he's built like a winger.
Or Manuel Neuer.
Almost, or Neuer. Yeah, these presence goalkeepers that you see, like Oblak's another one that sort of has got a bit about him, this presence about him. Same with Handanovic at Inter. These keepers that are considered some of the best keepers in the world. David De Gea now is above all of these goalkeepers, not looking necessarily like he should be. And I think that says a lot about him. And he's arguably got Manchester United a point at Anfield. I guess the question I've got as a Liverpool fan is that why does Mourinho do this? Because, and I know what people say, you give Liverpool space, they'll destroy you. You're right, but all I've been hearing all season is that Lovren's shit, Moreno's shit, Mignolet's shit. Like, we didn't have Nathaniel Klein. We had Joe Gomez playing at right back, or like Trent didn't play, he was on the bench. So it's like, why don't United, with Martial, with Rashford, with Lukaku, with Mkhitaryan, why aren't they trying to win that game? Liverpool, you look at Liverpool's form in the last 8 games or so, they are there for the taking at the moment. Like, defensively, we are shook, and Manchester United's offence made Liverpool's defence look world class. Honestly, I've not seen Lovren and Matip play as well for ages. They completely shut down Lukaku.
I'd said about the expected goals stat and the sort of highest games that for XG this season. That game for Man United was, I think, the 3rd lowest in the Premier League this year in terms of chances created. And
they had one shot on target.
It's like 0.2.
They had one shot on target. 6 shots in total, 1 shot on target. It was the Lukaku chance, which in fairness, you probably should have taken. But apart from that, there was never sort of... Okay, you had Martin Tyler go... wait for that one chance. Gary Neville, wait for that one chance. Never came. That entire second half, it never happened, never developed. If I'm a Manchester United fan, you know what, you've gone away at Anfield, you got a point, you're probably pretty happy. But there's part of me thinking, I've just watched you spend 80 million on a new striker. Mkhitaryan cost 35 million. Martial cost 35 million. It's a powerful attacking force United have got, and they're not trying to win the game. Like, you might... defensively... United are really good this year as well. I made the point about De Gea, he's a very good goalkeeper. Why not go to Anfield and try and win? We've seen lesser teams do it. Like, I understand Mourinho is playing the long game of, at the end of the season, you'll look at the points they took where maybe they couldn't have done. But again, you look at Liverpool's last 8 games, they are not a team in form. Like, they're a team struggling for confidence. And in my opinion, we're there for the taking. I thought Liverpool played well, but it's easy to play well against the Manchester United team that restrict themselves so much. It's interesting that he plays that. He's done it a couple of times at Anfield. You mentioned Red Monday. He did it last year with Ibra up front, and they had 1 or 2 more chances. But it is strange because he doesn't do it against anybody else. It feels like.
Well, his record against the top 6 over the last few seasons is really poor. I don't think he's won against a top 6 team.
Do you think he's conscious of that?
The last couple of seasons,
that he doesn't want to be embarrassed.
I think he believes that he can win a league title, as he's shown. Obviously, Chelsea won the league a few years ago under his guidance. I think he believes that the better way to go about winning league titles is to not drop points against your rivals and to rely on the competitive nature of the Premier League to let them trip up elsewhere you just be consistent.
There's no doubt Manchester United are so much better at beating these lesser sides than Liverpool or Chelsea or Arsenal are this season.
And Mourinho teams are good at that historically as well. Like his Chelsea teams would do that.
I know Mane got sent off, right, and it changed the game somewhat. But look at what City did to Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I know Liverpool were away from home, and as I say, they were down to 10 men, but City annihilated that Liverpool back line. Liverpool still had 10 men behind the ball for the most part. It's crazy to me that United didn't push for it a little bit more, didn't go for it a little bit more. And yeah, again, you probably go, well, what does a Liverpool fan know about trying to win a league title? And this is the sort of game that might just edge it. Like, maybe City will come to Anfield, try and push for it, and we'll beat them 3-2 or something.
That's what I mean. I think Mourinho would say to you in response to that, and a lot of people who've criticised him, yeah, we're 2 points behind Man City now, but...
Yeah, where are you? How are you getting on?
And also, City have shown that they can slip up, and that system doesn't have a plan B. And, you know, if Man City go and lose the next game and United win, they will go a point ahead. And who cares what happened in the game against Liverpool? Because when all's said and done, there'll be a point up. I think that's I don't necessarily agree with that, but playing devil's advocate, that's what Jose Mourinho would say to people. And
as much as it pains me, and this might not sound surprising, it's the right thing to do against Liverpool. Put 10 men on the ball, try and let them break you down.
If you score on the counter attack, so be it.
Yeah, it probably won't happen. So just see it out for as long as possible.
Should we move on?
Liverpool don't have enough. Yes, we should move on. For a 0-0, that got more coverage than I expected. But let me know, United fans, if you win a league title, I guess you'll take it, right? But do you want to see more? I will say if Pogba had played, I think United would have won that game. I think Pogba's craft in the sense it just makes that bit of a difference. I think he's basically just a better, bigger version of Herrera, largely. I know they do different roles, but I think creatively Pogba offers that bit more. Praddy, do you want to say anything on that game?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you know, you were saying Pogba playing, but I think if Ashley Young wasn't playing, then it would have been a different game. Like, the fact he started, I could understand the reasoning behind it.
I like Ashley Young.
No, but I can understand the reason. I remember Gary Neville saying, "Oh, Ashley Young's playing on the right because he can cross the ball for Lukaku." But he's so one-dimensional. Like, Ashley Young does the same thing over and over again, which was just run down the line, and he just put an awful cross in the box every time. And I'm thinking, you could tell before kickoff that you knew what Mourinho was going to do, and he put Ashley Young in there to just be more defensive, like, because obviously Ashley Young is now a defender in all respects. Like, he plays fullback more than he does in the attacking positions.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just... I don't know why he still gets in the team, Ashley Young. So.
No. Well, there we are then. Ashley Young took an absolute battering from Proudy.
Individual attack on Ashley Young.
I hope he doesn't listen. He'll be thinking, good defensive display. Hang on a second, what's all this? Right, let's talk about Crystal Palace winning a football match. I mean, how can we avoid this? Not only have they won a football match, they've beaten Chelsea. I mean,
the champions.
The most
Crystal Palace thing ever, really. Don't score a goal for 8 games, lose all of them, and then beat the champions.
Yeah, it's very. This is going to sound a bit cliche. Very football, isn't it? For that sort of thing to happen, it feels like that sort of thing happens quite a lot.
Yeah.
Wilfred Zaha, Proudy, he makes one hell of a difference to this Palace side.
He does, because he knows where the goal is. So, he scores. He's the first goal scorer this year.
I'd like to think they all know where the goal is.
Well, they would have scored much earlier than this.
Think so, watching them this season.
That's true. That's true.
Well, he's got a lot on his shoulders now, because with Benteke out, and obviously Connor Wickham's out as well, and they've got no strikers, he's going to have to be leading the line. The fact that they had to rely on Bakary Sakho in the game against United away said a lot about their strength and depth. They've just got no one who can play that striker role. But I think Zaha now, he can dribble well. He can finish. So he probably is the sort of striker that Palace may have needed, someone who's more dynamic than Benteke is. Because I think Benteke can get you so far, but he is limited to what he can. If you can't play around Benteke, then you're not going to, get the best out of him. With Zaha, I think there's many systems he can play in. So he's as I said, he's much more dynamic player. And we saw, he was running at players. I think the second goal he did, he just went straight past Azpilicueta, like he wasn't even there, and then fired it past Courtois. And I'm thinking, if Palace had a player like that earlier, then we might have seen some different results from them. But yeah, I think, as I was saying, Zaha is going to be under a lot of pressure now, because the fact that he's played so well against Chelsea, all the pressure's on him to still put those performances.
It was good last year. It wasn't Zaha. I know he's come back after injury, but he was very good last year. I think Palace fans were really hopeful of him this year. It was disappointed he got injured. Do you think then that part of Palace's problem? It's a lot easier to look at this now he's not there, but I feel like every Premier League defence has figured Benteke out, because he's not the sort of goals he scores. It's not necessarily him being that clever. I don't feel like it's just sort of opportunities. When I think about Benteke goals, I remember a lot of goals where it sort of gets pulled back to him and he just knocks it in. And I know that's arguably like the hardest part of football, but it's not like he's brushing a defender off. He's creating a bit of space, doing a nice turn or whatever, or even scoring like these dominant headed goals. A lot of Benteke goals in my memory feel like penalties or tap-ins.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there. He for a guy who's 6'4", 5, he doesn't attack the 6-yard box to get on the end of crosses in the way that you would expect a player of that strength and power to do.
Zaha's way more difficult to play against than Benteke is what I'm getting at.
I'd almost like to see. I thought what was interesting about what Hodgson did was play a kind of a flat 4-4-2, very Hodgson, but with Andros Townsend and Zaha together in a front two. I feel that was quite interesting, actually. It kind of come out from the fact that he doesn't actually have any fit strikers, so he was forced to in a way. But it was almost a happy accident in how it worked out, because Chelsea didn't really know what to do with two players playing up against their back three who weren't traditional number nines.
Yeah.
And I just think the kind of unorthodox way that they played sort of just totally took them by surprise and really helped just create the space for the goals. Zaha, I'd like to almost see with Benteke in that system, but I just feel as though when a manager looks at Benteke, he thinks, oh right, he's a sort of down the middle.
Yeah, there's our number 9.
Three.
Yeah, you don't put anyone near him.
When really, I think, and maybe Hodgson will be under too much pressure to try this experiment in the kind of pressure cooker that is the Premier League.
He's almost got the leeway to do it because they'll be getting smashed. It's almost like he's got a little bit of leeway to try little things out if he wants to.
But he's out for a while, so it'd be interesting to see how well the Townsend Zaha unlikely partnership goes. I have a feeling not too much further. But,
I'll be making the bold prediction that I think Chelsea are going to. I mean, we talked about this literally last week, and I brought it up that without Morata, without that really obvious like world class, I think he's as close to world class as you get in the Premier League. Chelsea are going to struggle this year. As much as Michy is an option, he's got a bit of speed, he's got a bit of power, he's got a little bit of pace. I don't think he's anywhere near as intelligent as Morata. We literally mentioned this 2 weeks ago for our show, and I said that there's a lot of pressure on Michy now to go out and be this number one striker for Chelsea. And I don't think, this was his first test, and failure is what's come out of it. Like I think Chelsea are under a lot of pressure now, a lot of strain to get through. I don't actually know their run of fixtures, but if it's a difficult run of games, then Chelsea could be falling off the pace a little bit. Like Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea right now are all level on points. I know Arsenal lost to Watford this weekend, and we'll come on to that in a minute. But I do wonder if Chelsea will be the team out of those three to just slowly fall away a little bit without Morata in the side. It comes back in about a month, 2 months. But they've got Roma coming up first in the Champions League. Then they've got a home game against Watford, which now doesn't seem that easy. And then an FA Cup game against Everton, away at Bournemouth. They're winnable games for Chelsea, but if they don't win them, then there's going to be a lot of Conte is starting. There's going to be questions asked for Conte, and we know what Abramovich is like. He's not afraid to pull the trigger. Essentially, I guess we'll have to wait and see. What do we think about Chelsea? Do you agree with me or not?
They have the same points at this point last season. They have the same points now as they did at this point last season.
Very different league structure, though, isn't it? Very different league structure.
It is, and I worry about Conte long term. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be the long term man for Chelsea, and he may well move on in the summer. I just wonder if that will maybe dampen his enthusiasm to make the kind of sweeping, sort of brave changes that he did last season to get a reaction from the team. We may be overreacting to this, and this could just be one of those freak results that occur in the Premier League, and they may go on to play very well against Watford and beat Roma, and all will be fine again, and just they'll be waiting for Morata to come back.
I will say just quickly, they're actually 3 points worse off at this point after 8 games. Yeah, and actually, interestingly, right, they were 5th at this point last year, but they were 3 points off City. The gap now is 8 points.
8 points
right now, and Manchester City and Manchester United firing on it feels like all cylinders. They're playing extraordinarily well. Whereas the reverse of it was City were top of the table at this point last year, but they just had a loss and a defeat. And that's when Guardiola's side looked to struggle a little bit and they fell away. And Chelsea win 10 in a row or something like that?
Yeah, they went on a crazy run.
They played really well.
Christmas.
And my point is, I can't see Chelsea doing that this time. And that's arguably what won them the league last year, is they gathered that momentum, pushed through a difficult spell. But without Morata, Again, we said this in the transfer window. They've got one option aside from Morata,
who didn't play very well, Batshuayi.
Yeah, and if he's not in form and he's lacking confidence, and the difference is now, right? Morata had this idea that I'm going to play because I'm the best player here, and that's going to be fine. And Michy has something to fight for. All of a sudden, Michy knows he won't be dropped. If Conte wants to play a striker, there's going to be no thought in Michy's mind of, I'm going to get pulled off, I'm going to get dragged off, because he knows that he's the only real source of goals. Interestingly, though, I think he was taken off for Pedro on 57. So it's a little bit like, at that point, Chelsea's attacking force on 65, because they put Masonda on, was Masonda, Pedro, and Eden Hazard. And even against Crystal Palace, that isn't. Sometimes that's not going to be good enough against what is Palace last year were pretty good. Sacco and Dan decent at the back. Van Aanholt, Ward again decent. I know they started the season horrifically, but without a main point of attack, what is the plan for Chelsea now? What's Conte going to do? Play Hazard as a false nine? It just seems really naive from a team that have got a lot of money and they could have signed many third choice strikers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see as well, because it's the team they played who have now not got any strikers, and it's interesting to see that you were just saying
it's a good point.
They haven't got a backup plan, but Palace were forced to use a backup plan and it worked for them. So I don't know if it's just it's probably the way that the managers are telling them to play. Actually,
but Chelsea still have this striker that's not performing. That's the problem.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think. I don't know. It could just be the way Conte's trying to get back. It's interesting to see as well that he signed Batshuayi, who I still can't see him actually fit in the system. I don't think he's ever fitted the system ever since he's joined. And it's interesting.
That's a really interesting point. Then, is there a team in the Premier League where we think he does fit?
I feel like he would be like a better version of Benteke. So he would be like the player that sort of Everton needs. He would probably be a worse Lukaku. Yeah, just probably. If Everton had Batshuayi,
I'd love to be a worse Lukaku, just as a point.
But I think if Batshuayi had joined Everton, maybe Southampton, he would be. I think he would have a lot more success. Maybe even Stoke, that sort of team. But Chelsea, no, I don't think so. But
no?
He's going to have to. Obviously, he's going to get a run of games soon. I can't see Conte dropping him because he's the only striker he's got. So.
Yeah. This, and that in lies the problem. What's he going to do as we go forward? Right, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and after that we'll talk about Watford's controversial win against Arsenal, Spurs for anyone at Wembley, and a few other bits and pieces to wrap up this week. So stay tuned. Okay, listeners, welcome back. Now, we said we'll talk about Watford Arsenal, so let's do that. There was a bit of controversy, boys. Controversy, boys. I don't know what that was. Controversy. What was that? Top of the morning to you. Welcome back to the podcast. It's a lovely time. No, Richarlison, who isn't pretty good for Watford, and Watford has started the season superbly
he's been
well.
One of the surprises of the season for me.
Yeah, he looked. I don't know what he came. Actually, no, he came on against Liverpool in the opening game of the season when it was a 3-3, and immediately I thought, he actually looks like he might be quite good. There might be a little bit about him. Obviously brought him from Brazil. Has he dived, boys, is the question. Obviously, he got a penalty, which got Watford back into the game. Has he dived for said penalty, or is there a bit of contact? We'll start with Christopher Proud. What do you make of it, referee Chris?
I watched it in real time. I thought Bellerin was...
You didn't watch it in slow-mo then?
No.
So last time you saw it, slowed it down.
No, I think Bellerin was unlucky for the referee's position. I think Richarlison has been smart, very smart, with what he's done. I don't know. I did think there was a bit of contact, but definitely, once you see the replays over and over again, you think, he's definitely not had enough contact to knock him down like that.
Okay.
I would say it's a dive. I would say it's a dive.
For me, it's one of those really tricky ones that in real time looks a penalty straight up, and then also, depending on sort of what position you played, what your biases on football are,
sure.
There are so many different ways that you could take it. I would say, if I was a fan of the Watford, in this case, I'd kind of be like, yeah, fine, the contact is minimal, but I'm glad Richarlison sort of tried. Not glad that he dived, but sort of I would be in favour of getting the benefit of the doubt for that.
Yeah.
At the same time, Arsenal fans will feel aggrieved by it. Some may feel Bellerin shouldn't be even trying to make the contact there and should give him a bit more of a clear run. So it's even if he still chooses to go to ground, it's even clearer that he dived and he gets booked. Yeah. It's one of those that's really difficult to sort of justify while it kind of is clear that it's a dive.
I think Paddy made a good point. Bellerin's quite unlucky, but it's like it just okay. I'll put it this way, boys.
It's really difficult. My
attitude towards this changed because I supported a team that had Luis Suarez up front for 3 years. So what you tend to do then is look at it from his perspective all the time. Luis Suarez was so good at like sprinting, slowing down, getting contact, falling to the floor. And you think, if you're watching that like, as the opposition or like as a defender, you're thinking, you horrible little bastard, stop doing that. But then what I actually think is it's a little bit clever. To me, that's not the same. And I lambasted him on Twitter recently, so I'm going to bring this up. It's not the same as when Jamie Vardy runs through and throws his leg into a defender, because that's not what he did.
Or when Dele Alli does that.
Yeah, to me, that's a dive. That for me is the definition of a dive, when you force the contact. Now, I don't think the difference is like, has he forced it? I don't think he's forced it. I think he's allowed the contact. He's allowed like his leg to make contact with Bellerin, which this sounds mental, I realise now. But but there is a difference though. Do you know what I mean? It
depends on the direction you're running as well in a way, because when both players are running in the similar direction like that, Bellerin has to sort of catch up with Richarlison to make the contact.
Yeah, whereas it's the Luis Suarez syndrome.
Whereas if you're Jamie Vardy trying to go round a keeper and you intentionally leave your leg in as he's coming out towards you, that can look a lot more. It sounds like we're trying to justify diving here. I'm not trying. I don't. That's not what I mean.
I think referees have got a very difficult job. That's what we can take from this.
There are so many like hundreds of thousands of permutations of how this can play out that it's really difficult.
I think it's a pen, but I wonder if that'll be fascinating. Actually, will that be a penalty?
Was given either way.
Well, when video replays come in, will that be a penalty? Because there's no argument that the contact's been made. What the argument is, as it stopped him from going through.
Having seen how VAR has gone over in Serie A, I'm not sure if I want it at the moment.
It takes like 5 minutes to make a decision. Like there was the one in the Juventus game which took...
I personally don't want it. I've said this loads of times before. I think the only time I'm happy for a robot to intervene is the next Transformers movie, and firstly is goals. I don't mind if it's influencing a goal, and I guess actually based on that, Ben, this does influence goals because it's a penalty or not. But I don't know. I'll be fascinated to know if it's given as a penalty or not, because then that's going to video referees are going to redefine the game in that way. Because then it's going to have to become very clear cut to what is and what isn't.
Yeah.
Oh dearie me, that's a horrifying. I mean, part of me thinks it'll be exciting, part of me thinks it won't be. But
Watford deserve a lot of credit for winning that game in the manner they did.
They're so efficient at the moment. It says a lot that they're fourth with a goal difference of 0, but they've got 15 points from 8 games.
I tell you what, Arsenal could do a lot worse than getting that manager in.
Marco Silva.
Yeah, I think that would.
I think the talk is Ancelotti, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but
I heard Roman was interested in getting rid of Conte and getting Ancelotti back.
I think I appreciate that Ancelotti's a great manager, but for a longer term, if we're trying to find a Wenger light or a sort of replacement in that sort of long-term mould, he would be a much better
I hate to break it to you, but actually this breaks the chain that we've discussed before. When Simeone moves to wherever he's moving to, I can't remember where we had him going, and Pochettino moves to Atletico.
Or Chelsea.
Yeah, but then Pochettino moves, and then that's when Marco Silva goes to Spurs.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
That's already predetermined.
Yeah. And it'll be Marco Silva's Spurs versus Steven Gerrard's Liverpool, and it's going to be Ryan Giggs will be in charge of someone. Paul Scholes would have driven Oldham up to the Premier League, back to the glory days. It's going to be great. Frank Lampard will be in charge at Swansea, something like that.
Interesting for Arsenal as well now that...
I said it before, I don't care. This is so... they do it all the time. This is so Arsenal. A good run, though. Troy Teeney's basically gone, this defence aren't up for it. It's the Premier League. And he's going, well, Mertesacker doesn't really seem up for this, so I think I'll just batter him for a little bit. And we'll see how it goes. This is FA Cup stuff we're talking about, not the Premier League, Watford v Arsenal. I mean, if you're an Arsenal fan, it must be. I've got a lot of sympathy for Arsenal fans. It's sort of changed over the last 5 years for me. That before I thought you're a lot of idiots, and now I'm starting to feel like you're so powerless to this, and it's so obvious it's going to happen midway through the game. Troy Deeney has Arsenal in his back pocket there. Like it's ridiculous. And I, as I say, sick of talking about it. Same old shit. We could talk. This is basically Arsenal from last year or the year before, Proudy. We could do this every single year. Oh.
I was going to make the point.
Let's not dwell.
Well, I was going to make the point quickly that me and Ben had this discussion about Ozil because we were talking about how he fits into the system, and then you made the point that if Ozil comes out of the team, Arsenal will play better. And he got dropped out of the team for Welbeck and Iwobi. They looked a lot better. Then he gets brought back into the team, and I saw a video of him taking a touch really badly, and then he didn't even bother to go and get the ball back. He just gave the ball away. I was thinking, can't do that, can you?
I'll put it this way, Proudy. At the point in which he comes on, they're 1-0 up.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's still... And then he missed a chance, to be fair, 1-0, didn't he? With the 1-on-1, and then it's cost them the game, hasn't it?
With that sort of thing, I'm a bit indifferent. Like, I've heard a lot of people say
I feel that's a bit hard.
I feel like he should have scored, though. He was right in the middle of the goal.
He should score it, but then, like, Lukaku should have
plenty
scored.
Of players
at the weekend. And, like, the players, people do miss that sort of thing. For me, it's what he actually offers overall in games where Arsenal needs to dig in. And you take a workhorse like Danny Welbeck off and you bring on Ozil, and all of a sudden the whole structure of the game changes. And that's my biggest issue with it. Obviously, Giroud came on as well. They took off Welbeck and Lacazette, and then all of a sudden... It was party time. Deeney came on incidentally. So it's like Wenger brought Ozil on. At that point, Marcus Silva looked at Troy Deeney and went, "Can you get off?" Not like that, obviously. But wait, like it's time. 2 minutes later, Troy Deeney comes on, and his penalty actually changes the whole the way the game's going. At that point, it looks like Watford are going to win it more than Arsenal. Yep. And again, same old shit every single year. As Claude says, "Wake up and smell the coffee." He always says that. It's his favourite phrase.
We've got one more year of it anyway, next year. And then we'll sign another contract.
We'll be doing this again, though. If he's there next year, we'll be doing this all over again. We've said this a million times before, Arsenal need dramatic change at their club to change anything.
And they need Sean Dyche.
And it's not going to happen. Sean Dyche, did you just say? They need Sean Dyche.
They do, don't they?
It's not going to happen. So we'll be here again. Later in the season, they'll lose away at Huddersfield or something, and we'll be having the same conversation. Infuriating. We need to record a clip that we can play every time Arsenal lose to a team. Same old shit, wake up and smell the coffee. We'll go Claude all over it. It's infuriating. Speaking to make Arsenal fans feel even better, Spurs won a match at Wembley. My God, it's happened. I guess it's over then. Now the voodoo's over. Eriksen's broken it, and that'll be that. Although Harry Kane's not scored at home this year. Is that true?
Well, other than the Champions League.
Other than Champions League, sorry. Yeah. But in the league, he's not scored at home this year.
Yeah. I thought this was a really important and well fought win for Spurs, actually.
Bournemouth have been pretty awful, though, haven't they, this year?
Yeah.
If you're not beating Bournemouth at home, you've got real problems at this home voodoo thing that goes on.
It's true, but I think some games you just have to get over the line. Sometimes you're not playing well. And I think that as they showed with the Burnley match, which they drew and conceded late on in that game, they weren't able to hold out and pick up the 3 points. And as we've already mentioned on this show tonight, 3 points are 3 points, whether you beat a team 7-2 or you scrape past Bournemouth 1-0 at home.
Yeah.
And with the whole Wembley thing in mind, Pochettino sort of said quite a funny thing that, every time they win a game, it's fine. And every time they lose a game, it's back on again. And I think they just have to keep doing whatever they can to win, considering that their schedule is a lot more busy this year than it was prior to the Champions League.
The next 3 games, I'll change that. The next 4 games for Spurs.
Real Madrid
away at the Bernabeu, then at home to Liverpool at Wembley, then at home to West Ham in the FA Cup, and then away at either United or City, one of those. They're away at United. And that then is going to be a fun little time. Actually, and then they play, this is great actually, then they play Real Madrid again, then they're at home to Palace, then they're away. Blimey, Spurs, you've got fun. I'm going to keep going here until it's not fun. Then they're away at Arsenal, then they're away at Borussia Dortmund, then they play at home to West Brom, where everything becomes a little bit more mundane.
Hashtag WBA.
Yeah, then away at Leicester. But yeah, so Spurs, very pivotal time in Spurs' season here, from the game against Madrid that happens this week to the game on the 21st of November against Dortmund, away at Dortmund as well. Pivotal time for Spurs. In their season, some big old Premier League games. As I say, they've got Manchester United, Liverpool, and Arsenal in the Premier League within that time, and one of those is at home, so that'll be interesting to see how they get on. But the voodoo's broken. We can stop talking about it. Speaking of, there's no link here. I'm going to have to speaking of Tammy Abraham, he got a couple for Swansea, and Swansea beat Huddersfield in a relegation 6-pointer. Is it too early?
5 and 10 now.
Yep.
5 and 10 for Abraham.
We said this before we started recording. If he gets 15, that is exactly what Swansea want. Like that,
and what I think a guy his age should be doing in the Premier League. Really impressive as well.
Or be third choice at Chelsea, because after his good year in the Championship last year, options there. So a really good win for Swansea. I think Huddersfield will be disappointed not to get something from this game.
Well, I think they had the classic sort of newly promoted wave of euphoria that often occurs, and they were flying high in August and September. I still kind of stand by my prediction in the sense that
I thought you were singing "That's Like Dad's Life," flying high in April, shut down in May. I thought you were going on that line.
They might be shut down in May, actually, and I still think they will be.
It's
going to be a long season.
They dominated the game, but they didn't get the goals.
That's the problem. You see,
that's classic Premier League, classic, as you say, classic newly promoted, isn't it? That sort of thing.
And I remember from the year that my team went down, is that there were large periods of the game that we would look alright. As soon as I'm going to continue, as soon as like a goal goes in, or and something happens which needs like a character-driven response, they can't do it, or there's problems there.
I think the worry maybe for Huddersfield is that the next two games are Manchester United and Liverpool, and that's the game that Wagner would have looked at and gone, let's get something from that one, and not worry
Liverpool
about too much.
A good match.
Oh, yeah, they are away actually at Anfield, so yeah, that's 3 points right there, what we're talking about. But that will be interesting. Actually, United have to go to Huddersfield. Well, that's a Sunday. It's a Saturday 3:00 actually, so they'll be loving that. Not a problem.
Reckon Mourinho will take a 0-0?
I wonder if Mourinho will set up the same away at Huddersfield. I wonder.
It'll be a 1-0 like 3rd minute goal, and then just.
To be fair, Wagner was best man at Klopp's wedding, so maybe he fears anyone that even remotely has a Klopp essence about them. So you never know. But yeah, a decent win for the Swans there. Andy Carroll got sent off in ridiculous fashion. I mean,
surprising.
Why did he do it, Chris? Have you got a contact?
Well, no, see, I saw it from both sides. I was thinking he's the sort of striker who's meant to be that physical presence in the team.
Yeah, we just criticised Benteke for it.
Probably a bit too physical. Sticking his. I think the second one was definitely a yellow. The first one I'm not too sure on, because he was being. There were two players also going for the header with him, so I think he was a little bit unlucky with that one. But the second one, he's running full pelt. I know his eyes are on the ball. But the fact he's jumped and then put his elbow up in the air is obviously going to try and catch someone. And then, I can't really complain about one. So
can I just read the quote from the Mirror, which says, "Manager Bilic will clobber the Geordie powerhouse with a 2-week fine, even though it was his first red card since February 2014. No, that's £180,000 apparently for being stupidly sent off. You get if you ever get booked twice in 2 minutes, you're a moron." Like you're a silly little moron. Both were a bit needless and a bit reckless. I think he thinks he can get away with it because of what he's like, but I'm not sure you can. And that is probably why they'll miss out on the England squad, just because of little things like that like his talent doesn't outweigh that sort of stupidity, which is.
I really like Chris Wood.
Okay,
he's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a footballer or as a man?
Oh, both. I like the signings. He's also in my fantasy team. So that's
is he? Okay. Don't talk to me about fantasy, by the way. I've dropped off the face of a cliff.
I had a great week.
I've gone to 7th in our private league. It's embarrassing.
I'm still 2nd, so
it's an embarrassing scenario. Jack's still up there, I think, as well. That's annoying.
He'll fall off.
Mr. Wood, you're a fan, are you?
Yeah, I for a guy who sort of failed in the Premier League first time around at West Brom. Maybe was he at Leicester for a little bit? I don't know.
He was at Leicester. He was at
Leicester, but in the Championship, was it?
Yeah, possibly. But he got the move to Albion in the Premier League, and they didn't really get it going first time around. Dropped back down the league, was prolific at Leeds, and has now stepped back up. It's like he's the perfect sort of striker for Sean Dyche, really, for a Sean Dyche team. The header was excellent, but I think he's underrated with his feet as well. I think he's technically better than you might get credit for in that team. He's like the natural upgrade to Sam Vokes.
I really hope that at some point in the season, Jack touts him for the England squad. I'm fully aware he's not English, by the way. I'm fully aware. Yeah. I just really want Jack to say that, like, you know, he's got.
Well, Jack won't be listening to the podcast at this point.
Oh no way.
Let's try and what we'll do. We'll try and
next week. Okay, listeners, this is great. We'll say next week, Chris Wood been scoring goals for Burnley. Do you think he'll get into the England team? We'll try that out next week. Hopefully, remember. We'll see what he says. If he knows,
between you and us, listeners.
Yeah, just between you. Don't say a word to him.
Don't tell him.
Right. Anyway, you like him. Bottom line, you like Chris Wood, and you think he's good. Everton are still a little bit rubbish, aren't they? They were
getting lucky. Koeman's getting lucky now, isn't he?
Well, how long, Proudy? Put
2 more weeks, 2 more games, and then it's
okay.
Gone. Yeah, 2 more games.
29th, Proudy's the 29th of
Halloween.
They got Arsenal. They got Arsenal, Chelsea, and Leicester away.
Chelsea
in the cup. Sorry, Chelsea in the cup.
The Grim Reaper will come for him on Halloween.
He shouldn't go. I hate the fact he's going to go. I know Everton have had a dreadful start, but they've got to put a little bit of faith in him until at least maybe March. And if they're struggling, then Big Sam, bring Sam back.
Yeah, I think he's waiting.
At that point, bring Big Sam back. But now Everton's not very good. Newcastle are up for sale, boys. I mean, they got a draw against
earlier this evening.
They got a draw against Southampton. Southampton fans, I think you might be the team that we're talking about the least so far this season.
It's a bit boring.
That's just, you just got to pay the price for being 12th. Really, that's just what happens when you 12th. No, basically, it's called West Brom syndrome.
And not being an exciting 12th as well. If anything, right, Southampton fans need to start a hashtag sort of Saints.
Yeah,
they've got to get angry.
I think it's SFC.
Make Southampton exciting again. What can we do? Basically, Southampton's week. I mean, Southampton fans, here we go. I'll indulge you a little bit. You'll love this. Van Dijk's talking that he wants to leave in January, so that's good. He was giving a little bit of chatter during the international break, as players will. I'll still be looking for a way out. He said. That's positive news. But no, Newcastle are for sale. Mike Ashley has finally decided, so they don't want me here, and has put Newcastle United up for sale. I don't know if there's any quotes from Mike Ashley around this. All I know is that he's put it up for sale. There was basically a statement on the Newcastle website that Newcastle United requires a clear direction and path to a bright and successful future. Apparently, though, they want it sold by Christmas. So, I mean, imagine getting that as a present.
Merry Christmas, Newcastle fans.
Yeah, who's going to get it as a present? That's my guess. Who would we like to see own Newcastle? Anton Deck? Shearer?
Oh, that would be good.
True Geordie.
Do you know what? Anton Deck definitely couldn't afford it, but I would love it if
the cast of Geordie Shaw.
If a consortium led by Anton Deck went in for Newcastle. I know it's a little bit cliche to be saying things like this, but I would quite like it. Cheryl Cole maybe could get involved as well.
Shirley Ramiobi.
Shirley Ramiobi get a statue. No, Shirley Ramiobi's at a point in his life now where he could be a life statue, like you see in Covent Garden. You could do that outside Newcastle every weekend, just sort of posing for pictures, doing funny little bits.
He was slow enough when he was playing as well.
Yeah, give it a go, Shola. Give it a go. That's what we'll say. A bit surprising though that they're putting him up for sale. I
think it's been common for a while. I mean, the amount of protests they've had over the years, at the boards for I think it was Keegan first, and then it got then it was Houghton. When he got sacked, and then they brought in Pardew, and then Pardew they wanted out. Allardyce they wanted out.
Not just about managers though, about
Steve McLaren,
about the way that Ashley's treated the club.
I mean, they hired Steve McLaren.
It's worth saying, by the way, on Newcastle that Mike Ashley gets a lot of stick for being a terrible bloke. He bought Newcastle for 134 million. He's going to be making money on his purchase. Business wise, by the end of it, he'll probably make money, which is, I think, that's what makes it the most sickening thing of all, doesn't it? A Premier League side like Newcastle now will definitely go for probably 300-400 million. You'd think
maybe he could use some of that profit to improve the conditions in his other business ventures.
Yeah, I mean, have you got a big sort of comedy Sports Direct mug at home?
We've got one at uni. In the house.
Is it used, or is it just used for putting things in?
It's used for just putting things in.
No one uses the Sports Direct mug. If you're using a Sports Direct mug,
it's a good point.
Your quantity of tea is too high, so pack that in immediately.
You're going to be needing the loo all day.
It's too big for one portion of tea. And I mean, again, get in touch. Are you using your Sports Direct mug? It's too big. All right, it's a comedy mug essentially. Have you got a Sports Direct mug?
No, unfortunately not.
Right, well, we might have to sort that out and get you one.
Oh, no, I always get them crap magazines they give away, don't they? They're like, "Oh, do you want this magazine?"
You work in the industry as well.
Yeah, I work in the industry, but no, when I order Sports Direct, they say, "Do you want this magazine?" I say no, and they still send it to me anyway. I'm thinking, you charge me £1.
Boys, we need to be careful here, because Sports Direct have got a radio station, I think. We've been to Sports Direct. They play Sports Direct radio, I'm sure they do.
Oh, I have to get on it.
We should try and get on that.
No.
Why?
I don't want to be on sports.
Once Ashley's left Newcastle, the stigma will go, and then we can swan in there as For the Fans.
But they'll want to put their name on the title, so it'll be For the Fans at Sports Direct.
Can I just clarify? Can I just clarify now? We are not. This podcast is not sponsored by Sports Direct. They haven't replaced Predictor. Like, don't worry about it. It's not happened. I think I'd say 2-2 for Newcastle. Well done, but they're up for sale. Maybe we should put a bid in. Perhaps. Maybe we should get it for Jack. Yeah. As a Christmas present. Just not tell him. Just get
back. He'll join back on the pod again. We'll be like, Jack, we've got a present for you. We bought you Newcastle United.
Jack, not only is the feature back, but St James's Park is now owned by you. So enjoy. Right then, that's going to bring us to the end, I think. Check us out on social media at For The Fans Show, forthefanshow.com for all available links, and obviously rate the show on iTunes as well. If you watch the YouTube video, before you click it off, just click the like button and let us know what you thought of today's show. If you enjoyed it, maybe rate it out of 10. High point, low point. I don't know why I'm doing this, but regardless, get in touch. And
leave your own individual just star ratings just in the comments.
If you can't be able to leave it on iTunes, listeners, just do it on YouTube and give us a full review on there. Or read some...
do leave it on iTunes if you can be bothered.
If you do it on YouTube or iTunes, I'll read some of the best ones out next week. That's the task for this week's show. Leave us a review. The more detail, the better. Right, Kino, thank you for joining me this week.
Thank you, Ben.
Proudy, pleasure as ever.
Have a good evening. And
hopefully you'll be back next week. Jack can get well soon, and we'll see you then from us at For The Fans.
Stop being ill, Jack.
From us at For The Fans. I mean, what if he dies? With love and care. From us at For The Fans. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.